Hi there, it's time for ICP Wyckoff check, and let's see what the latest price actions are telling us in terms of the direction of ICP. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key things that I'll cover during the session. So let's start with the weekly chart of ICP. ICP currently still in the transition between the panic sell period where whales starting to get in and transiting towards the selling climax where the panic should have been over by then. However, one key thing is that even after we see the selling climax and we may see an automatic rally, so if you want to see an example, that's exactly what happened back in May, just this year, okay, about 7 months ago. There will be more tests subsequently. So if you see a rally after this, don't think it is going to immediately shoot back to the distribution, like making another high, okay? That may happen, but the chance is very slightly, okay? If a particular coin or project catched the timing that capital came in and like all sort of good news come in, then it can all of a sudden make that move. But a lot of times it's not that case. All right, so expect the subsequent tests to come, and the test can go even lower than the selling climax, assuming the selling climax is landing somewhere around this red dashed line, a level at around $2.8. So this is also one of the key levels. After all these red key level of 4.5 and then this white solid line of around $3.7. That's these two are basically set by the previous low. The red one, not only during the period in October, but if you look to the 2023 during the 2002 all the way to 2004 accumulation, that particular period was the spring stage, meaning the mega shakeout before the price started to climb towards the current distribution cycle or the last distribution cycle that came before the beginning of 2025. All right, so that's the big picture. Okay, the purple line, nothing in the past has happened like this. It's basically what October 10th has showed us. So here, October 10th basically came all the way to this particular level. All right, so that's something we have to pay attention to. That's around $2. So just quickly check one thing. Okay, yeah, that's working. It's time to check the daily chart. So we have talked about this, the trend, this light blue box that's trending downwards, that's combining both the previous period since mid-July all the way into early October, before the October 10th event that pushed the price to below the trend. And after that very quick distribution all the way to almost $10, and then it started to return to this zone again. Fortunately or unfortunately, it landed onto the support or the bottom edge of the air hockey table or the channel itself just 5 days ago and rebounded from that point. However, when you look at the volume, it's slightly above average, I would say, if I enlarge this so it's easier. So over the course of these about 20-30 days, this is about average. However, the subsequent day, the next day after the climb, also get to the same level. So it's still kind of undecided if you look at the situation. All right, especially yesterday, the volume was pretty high, also like same as the other 2 days, and it's got a pretty long wick from above. So that means the selling pressure still continues. Today is still a bit undecided. The volume gets a little bit lower. There's still around 6.5 hours left, so things can still change. The key thing over here is that, for one, this action got rejected at the center line of the downtrend. Two, it's clearly the bulls are still trying to push the price, staying above this red dash line. Okay, remember we borrowed this from this particular period and the 2003 period. All right. So of course, everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, a lot of people would be willing to jump in at that point. So that's why we've got this kind of little spike. However, in my video yesterday, when I talked about the Japanese interest rates and what it triggers, like all these previous stock market crashes, there are still people that are skeptical and worrying about what's going to come when that eventually sets in, because that's going to take months to develop, and the stock market hasn't responded yet. That also has to wait. So for altcoins, a lot of them is exhibiting this kind of behavior. Capital is slowly, leaking out after the drop, maybe October 10th or subsequently in early November. A lot of projects are exhibiting this kind of behavior. So let's hope for the case of ICP, it doesn't go that deep into the level where October 10th showed us, around $2. But it certainly can, especially looking at what it's doing now. It's still it's still trading at the lower half of the channel. All right, not until it moves to the stronger side of the channel, then we see the light near the end of the tunnel. All right, this state, assuming the price continues to trade sideways between this red dash line and this white solid line at around $3.7, the red dash line is around $2.8, that eventually will trade towards the tip of this triangle. Okay, that's pointing towards early March. So we'll get a trend change confirmation by the end of Feb or early March if the price continues to stay over there. However, if it really comes down to test the level set by October 10th, that's going to trade towards the April 27th, like near the end of April, that particular tip of the triangle. And still, there are chances, I'm not going to skip the bad news and not telling you. There's still chances that the price goes lower than October 10th. All right, remember what I said just now about the Japanese interest rate. That's going to impact a lot of things. You heard a lot about carry trade, and to make it simple, basically, smart money borrows money at cheaper places, and then they use them to trade somewhere else. And when the condition change, when interest rate change, the cost of capital changes, and that's why they have to unwind certain things and reallocate their capital. So what we have seen on October 10th was only a trigger. What's happening bigger at the back takes months to evolve. It's not going to imagine that amount of money. It won't be fully unwind in one day. If it does, everything will collapse. The whole financial system will collapse. Okay, the smart money won't do it that way. They'll do it bit by bit. And if you have the capital to wait for that long, and you have got in, like if it's your expendable income, then treat it like an entertainment, right? But if it's not, be really careful how you manage your risk. I always mention about setting stop loss. When you trade, that's the best thing you can do, right, to protect yourself. Of course, don't get into margin or leverage if you can't afford losing everything or losing more than you originally put in. So that's some of the things that we have to be really, really careful of in these kind of uncertainty. All right. So For ICP, let's expect the test to continue and hope it doesn't go lower than the purple dashed line. Alright, best of course it stays around the red dashed line and show us the selling climax and eventually bounces to the automatic rally. Alright, it will take a couple of weeks, but that's the hope. Thanks for joining me. See you in other sessions.